A woman of a small village near Argos bore a daughter whom she loved more than life itself. The girl's name was Kallirrhoe. Being her only child, the mother cherished and indulged her beyond measure. One morning, when the mother had to go to the agora in the next town, she left Kallirrhoe a measure of barley groats and a fat fig stuffed with honey and walnuts. She gave her clear instructions. First set the pot of barley on the fire when hunger strikes you at midday. Do not touch the fig until the groats are boiling, for if you roast the fig first, the honey will run out and smother the flames, and you will have nothing to eat. She also strictly forbade her daughter to step out into the sun-baked courtyard when the shadow was shortest, because at that hour a terrible cherished shade of a child who had died before tasting life wandered there. Whoever looked upon that cherished would be cursed ever after to speak with a thick nasal voice, as though the nostrils were clogged with grave dust. Kallirrhoe swore by Hestia and the household gods that she would obey. But when the sun stood directly overhead and the courtyard blazed white, the sweet scent of the honeyed fig was too much for her. She thrust the fig onto the spit first, eager to taste it before troubling with the barley. At once the honey poured forth, hissed and drowned the fire in sticky smoke. Having licked the last drop from her fingers, her hunger returned sharper than ever. In desperation, she ran into the courtyard to gather dry kindling. There, beneath the pitiless sun, she saw the dreadful cherished approaching, pale, swollen-nosed, trailing the chill of Hades. When it drifted close, it spoke in its clogged, hollow voice. "Behold, this child plays the nasal aulos." Kallirrhoe, trembling yet bold, answered, "Behold, this cherished plays your own nasal aulos." The shade let out a sound like a dying goose, Gog, and said again, "They told me of you. Spit upon this child that I may play the nasal aulos." Kallirrhoe replied instantly, "They told me of you. Spit upon this cherished that I may play your own nasal aulos." The creature fixed her with empty eyes, then turned and melted into the heat shimmer. Kallirrhoe snatched her twigs, fled indoors, and finally cooked her barley. Only then did she realize her nose was blocked, and her voice came out thick and honking, exactly like the speech of the dead. When her mother returned from the agora and called "Kallirrhoe," the girl answered with a long, mournful "Goo!" like a shade from the underworld. The mother dropped her basket of olives and cried, "O gods of Olympus, what horror is this?" Kallirrhoe answered in her new honking voice, chanting the tale like a tragic chorus, "Mater mu, Kallirrhoe, emi, Kallirrhoe, mater mu, Kallirrhoe, emi, educas moi, alphita kai sykon melitonon epas, proton hepsesonta alphita ego de proton epsamento sykon, to melikateclusento pirmo. Exulton synagagin frigana kai sinentesa te keri to rhino mukti ipen, olson rhino micton. Ego, Olison sai to son, Ipen, Peterson hin aulaso. Ego, Peterson sai hin aulo to son. The mother flung her basket to the ground and ran to fetch her husband from the vines. When the father heard that voice and saw his daughter's altered face, he tore his cloak and cried, "By Zeus!" Kallirrhoe sang the same honking song to her father, word for word. Fury seized the father like the wrath of Ares. Taking only his staff, he travelled over 7 mountains and 7 rivers until he found a famed pharmacist and herb seer who knew every plant sacred to Artemis and every charm taught by Circe and Medea. At the next midday, the pharmacist led Kallirrhoe back to the very courtyard where she had met the cherished. When the pale shade rose again from the earth, it honked in triumph. "These mortals have come to play the nasal aulos." The pharmacist raised his first vial of hellebore and wolfsbane. The cherished gog-gogged and raised its own black vial of Stygian water. The pharmacist's vial shattered on the stones. The shade gog-gogged again. The cherished mocked. "They told me of you. Spit that I may play the nasal aulos." The pharmacist drew his second vial, steeped in mandrake and hemlock. The cherished gogged twice and shattered that one also, but the pharmacist did not gog in return. Swollen with pride, the cherished shrieked, "Play the nasal aulos!" Then the pharmacist drew his third and mightiest vial, distilled beneath the dark of the moon, and blazing with the fire Hermes stole from heaven. He hurled its power straight at the shade. The cherished gogged and gogged until it collapsed like an olive tree, riven by Zeus' thunderbolt, and lay dead upon the sun-baked earth. In that instant, Kallirrhoe's nose cleared. Her voice rang sweet and clear once more, and she stood whole and radiant as before. The pharmacist bound the corpse of the cherished in linen, weighted it with stones, and sank it in the deepest part of the Alpheus river, so it might trouble the living no more. All the children of the village leapt and sang, for the terror that haunted the midday courtyard was gone forever. From that day on, every child in the dem obeyed mother and father without question. The whole village gathered gifts, oil, wine, honey, and silver owls, and laid them at the feet of the pharmacist who had saved Kallirrhoe, declaring that he had rescued not one household only, but the peace of every family. Moral of the story: a child must obey their parents in all things. The tale also recalls that the Greeks of old believed the restless dead and malignant spirits walked beneath the sun as well as beneath the moon, and that they trusted in the ancient arts of the pharmakoi, in sacred herbs, and in the power of the immortal gods. Do well to share, like, and subscribe for more interesting stories.